All right. So we all know that Donald Trump is trying to federalize, or trying to, but he is talking about federalizing DC to lower crime. And Trump says he may take control of New York City, Chicago, and other cities just like DC. Okay. Well, here we are. Here we go. Okay. So, what's the takeaway from this? Well, first of all, I think my friends at Do Dissidents, I think my good friend Jose Vega, Larry Sharp, and a few other people would say, like, well, we don't want the National Guard or federal agencies in our cities. Look, Chicago's got a lot of problems too. New York City's got a problem. But you know what's not going to help is when you have federal agencies or the National Guard start going in and tearing things up. I mean, you know, maybe instead of, having a hammer and everything looking like a nail, let's use hammers to build things instead of stepping on things, instead of rounding people up. Because, we did say way early in February that, when they were rounding up, rounding up the migrants, it said sooner or later they're going to go after the nonviolent ones. And then they're going to go after dissidents and people of different political opinions. And listen, if you're on the right, be it libertarian or a Trump supporter, and you've been critical of Trump, especially how they handled the Epstein files, yeah, hey, you're on the list too. Hey, don't wait up. We're all on it. We're all on the list. We'll be in it together like a family. So here we go. So if anything happens to me, just remember, I love you. I love all of you. But here we go. Let's go and talk about this. This was from yesterday.
And we're going to have the same thing here. But then I'm going to look at New York in a little while. Let's do this. Let's do this together. Let's see. It's going to go pretty quickly. And if we need to, we're going to do the same thing in Chicago, which is a disaster. We have a mayor there who's totally incompetent. He's an incompetent man. And we have an incompetent governor there. Pritzker's an incompetent. His family threw him out of the business, and he ran for governor. And now I understand he wants to be president. But I noticed he lost a little weight, so maybe he has a chance. You never know what happens. But Pritzker's a gross incompetent guy, thrown out of the family business. But when I look at Chicago and I look at L.A., if we didn't go to L.A. 3 months ago, L.A. would be burning like the part that didn't burn. If he would have allowed the water to come down, which I told him about in my first term, I said, you're going to have problems. Let it come down. We actually sent in our military to have the water come down into L.A. They still didn't want it to come down after the fires. But that was it. We have it coming down. But hopefully L.A. is watching. That mayor also. The city's burning.
Now, look, here's what I think. Will it happen right away where, I guess federal oversight coming over to Chicago? No. Do I see it happening? Absolutely. And I say this not to be pessimistic. I say this not to be all scary and gloom and doom. It's just Brandon Johnson and Governor Pritzker pretty much, especially Pritzker during his first term as governor, calling out Donald Trump, and even afterwards, and even now Mayor Brandon Johnson, really, would be pick the bone of contention with Trump. And when you look at the Democrat machine, or is it at maybe one of the key factors of the Democrat machine, what's a good way to cripple it? Well, you got to go to one of its epicenters. And I hate being the guy saying this, but what I'm saying is factually true. There is the Chicago Democrat machine. And by no means is it a wonderful machine. It's a corrupt machine. And before anyone on the right says, oh, it's communist. Oh, no, it's not. It's very corrupt. Its origins is corrupt. Now, is what Donald Trump doing going to fix the problem? No. And when I do mean, will there be an interesting shakeup? If federal authorities are going to be coming in, Brandon Johnson is going to be in a very precarious spot. First of all, he is not popular with any of the residents in Chicago, myself included. In 2024, 2 districts here in Chicago turned red. First time ever in Chicago's history for Trump during the 2024 election cycle. Number 3, voter turnout for Democrats has been at an all-time low. Number 4, the city is right now in a dangerous, precarious spot where businesses are shutting down. Many areas of the city's infrastructure are woefully under repair. And let's face it, corrupt Chicago politics, as well as Mayor Brandon Johnson having contention with the Chicago Police Department. If I had to pick between which city is going to be picked first by Donald Trump in regards to having federal oversight, sorry, New York City, you're going to have to wait in line. I think Chicago is going to be first. But Mayor Brandon Johnson and Governor J.B. Pritzker, sorry about that. Sorry, Mayor Brandon Johnson and J.B. Pritzker did have their own choice of words for Donald Trump. So let me go ahead and play this up here. Let's play it.
Washington, D.C. police under federal control and deploys the National Guard, claiming it's an effort to curb a crime crisis.
But the numbers show violent crime in the nation's capital is at a 30-year low. By the way, the president is also threatening Chicago. WGN's Dana Rebick is here with all of the details.
Yes, a lot of reaction to this. Many are questioning the legality of this move. The president is invoking what's known as the Home Rule Act to federalize the D.C. police force, which he does have the authority to do for the next 30 days. Lawmakers here in Illinois feel this is all a distraction that does not align with actual crime trends.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor.
President Trump declaring a public safety emergency in Washington, D.C., taking federal control of the city's police department and threatening to deploy the National Guard if necessary.
We're not experiencing a spike in crime, but a decrease in crime.
In Chicago, violent crime is down year to year 23%, shooting incidents down 37%.
While these numbers are interesting, I have to point out social media does help add gasoline to the fire. Before I did my movie role acting, actually, no, wait, before I did some film work acting, there was a situation in downtown Chicago where there was a drive-by shooting in which, unfortunately, sadly, people lost their lives. And a few days ago, there was a senior citizen that was mowed down, shot. I think it was yesterday, I believe, or day before yesterday. My apologies. But incidents like this go viral on social media. And while these numbers are low, I mean, violence is still a problem in Chicago. And why is there violence in Chicago? Well, first of all, our ever warm and heartfelt politicians don't give a damn about us. And in turn, many of these areas, districts, counties have been ignored. Schools have been shut down, gentrification, people being displaced, lack of working jobs, lack of availability, lack of everything. Chicago is a hyper-segregated city, and it shows. It's been this problem since before I was born. It's been this problem since my great-grandfather was born. And my family is 4 generations deep. I think this is going to happen. And if I'm wrong, thank goodness. But this is not going to stop Trump, even if the numbers are low.
And the city is on track to have fewer than 500 homicides. Through August 10th, there were 249 murders in Chicago, compared to roughly 100 more this time last year. But the president threatened to send National Guard troops here, too.
We have a mayor there who's totally incompetent. He's an incompetent man. And we have an incompetent governor there. Pritzker's an incompetent. And now I understand he wants to be president. But I noticed he lost a little weight, so maybe he has a chance. You never know what happens. But Pritzker's a gross incompetent guy.
I guess I should say thank you for the compliment. I reject criticism and don't really want to respond to criticism from Donald Trump, who inherited his money and then went bankrupt 6 times and then defrauded.
Look, Pritzker, listen, hold on. Everyone, just so you guys know, and you know what? I got enough troubles as it is, but just here, what I'm going to state is very factual. The Pritzker name is all over Chicago. Okay? I mean, it's all over the city. Let's be very real here. Okay? Just like how Trump's name is all over New York City, the Pritzker name is all over Chicago. So it's It's interesting. By the way, when Pritzker first ran, at least as it stands, probably now that's been beat, but at least in the 2018 governor election cycle, in which Hardlands media covered, it was the most expensive gubernatorial race in U.S. history at that point in time. So you get battle of the billionaires. Don't worry, us poor folks don't get crumbs.
His business partners.
In a statement, Mayor Brandon Johnson said sending in the National Guard would undermine Chicago's public safety efforts. If President Trump wants to help make Chicago safer, he can start by releasing the funds for anti-violence programs that have been critical to our work to drive down crime and violence.
What the president did this morning was political theater. His idea in federalizing the police force of D.C. ignores the reality. They are making dramatic progress in reducing violent crime in D.C.
I'm almost at a loss for words. I mean, reality is that the commander-in-chief enacting a very rarely used law in Washington, D.C. that allows them to deploy the National Guard, I think is just an abuse of power. And then him threatening to do it here in Chicago and in Illinois, again, it's just a lot of hot air.
President Trump also said that he would work to end no cash bail in Illinois, which is part of a series of criminal justice reforms under the Safety Act. But the president does not have the authority to change state law. Now, under that Home Rule Act, he does have this next 30 days. But beyond that, Congress would have to approve any extension.
All right, we'll see how all this goes.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it all goes. But as it stands, Mayor Brandon Johnson has gone on the record saying that any deployment of the National Guard would destabilize the country or destabilize the city. It would cause more instability. Brandon Johnson also went on to write this out. Quote, "From my first day in office, public safety has been my top priority." All right, Brandon. Let's not go too far. In just 2 years, we have made historic progress, driving down homicides by more than 30%, reducing shootings by almost 40% in the last year alone. Last week, we learned President Trump cut another $158 million in funding for violence prevention programs in cities like Chicago. These cuts are on top of the Trump administration dismantling the Office of Gun Violence Prevention and terminating more than $800 million in grants for anti-violence programs across the country. Sending in the National Guard will only serve to destabilize our city and undermine our public safety efforts. To which I will say, look, to the activists and organizers, if you're going to be protesting in front of Trump Tower, I don't want to see a glorified parade, but this is going to be a serious problem here. And unfortunately, social media is not going to be helping out Brandon Johnson's case. There are going to be some people in Chicago, and there are new groups rising up who are going to want to see the National Guard or these are at federal agencies in the city to reduce the violence. I am not going to sugarcoat it. Chicago does have a violence problem, all right? And this is all over the city, from the north side to the south side to the west side. There's no other pretty way to say it, and it's been created this way because of decades of corrupt Chicago politics, starting with the creation of the Democratic machine with Old Man Daley. Read the book American Pharaoh, folks. At one point in time, the office of the mayor of the city of Chicago was where Caesar sat, or either that, a king sat. And that's why it's one of the most coveted seats. And for those that could wield it effectively, you are a force to be reckoned with. And for those who fail miserably at it, people will blame you for everything. And Brandon Johnson, being the all-star superstar, is now more hated than Lori Lightfoot. And I've told this to everyone across the political spectrum. If you could become more hated than Lightfoot, I don't think you have a chance of getting reelected. And Chicago 2027 is going to be a very interesting year to cover. A very interesting year to cover indeed. So this is going to be a huge hotbed in regards towards how the politics will be playing out. Governor Pritzker has also wrote this. What I can say is it's clear to me and most legal experts that he, being Trump, does not have the right or ability to do that. Having said that, the Nazis in Germany, in the 30s tore down the constitutional republic in just 53 days. It does not take much. Frankly, we have a president who seems hell-bent on doing that. We all know that, or at least if you live in Illinois, Pritzker has become one of Trump's biggest critics, and now there's talk of Pritzker potentially running in 2028. Okay. This is going to be a fight, and it's going to intensify. And in many ways, if you understand or are familiar with Donald Trump, this is what he does to his opponents. He wants to trigger people and get people upset, angry, have them lose the ability to think critically and not understand, or use it at act emotionally. That's how Trump handles things. He has people act emotionally. And for everyone that is watching this right now, and hold on, Dr. Nick, you wrote something. Chicago got slurred by Trump because Obama is from here and it's run by Democrats. And because of, again, yeah, of course, of the high Black and Latino population here. Yes, there is that. There's also a lot of other issues in Chicago that has been the front and center for Trump and his administration. Look, there's violence in the city, there's corruption in the city. And if you are a player in the game of politics, Trump has always made it his goal to at least shake things up or eventually get back at his enemies. And if you really want to give a gut check to the Democrat Party, dismantle the Chicago Democrat machine. And right now, as I have said, the Democrat machine is sputtering. The machine is weak. Don't count it out yet. But if there's ever a moment you want to strike at it, now's the time. There's a lack of faith in our politicians here in the city. Already, Chicago has a $1.1 billion deficit right now. I don't think bankruptcy or declaring bankruptcy is going to get us out of this fight. So it's rather madness that this is going on. It is rather insanity that this is going on, and it's rather insulting that this is going to happen. But we don't have a choice here, and we are in a very precarious spot in which this city is going to have to prepare itself as well as its populace. I remember during the COVID lockdowns where there were National Guard in the city, but that was deployed by Pritzker at the time. Trump could do the same. So if he's going to be doing this in D.C., in my opinion, in my personal opinion, Chicago is going to be next. Just my opinion. So we'll be talking about it. We'll be covering this story. Here's hoping that there will be no censorship. There will be no suppression. But yeah, very interesting times indeed. Keep your heads on a swivel, folks. It's going to be interesting.